Good day everyone. Today I'll be presenting a study on air writing using fingertip tracking. Air writing is the process of drawing characters in mid-air using the fingertip as a hypothetical pen. In this presentation, I'll be reviewing previous work done in the field of air writing, highlighting successes and shortcomings. I'll also be presenting an air writing system which attempts to overcome the shortcomings of the previous work done. Human-computer interaction has seen major advancements over the past 20 years, from traditional keyboard and mouse to touchscreen and even voice control devices. Vision-based systems have its application in virtual reality, object detection, and facial recognition. As an important part of vision-based human-computer interaction, air writing systems can be used for text input where traditional keyboards and a mouse is not available. In order to perform air writing, a system must be able to accurately detect and track the fingertip. Many advancements in the field of fingertip detection and tracking will lead to more robust air writing systems. Some of the early work done in fingertip detection and tracking involved tracking a marked fingertip in a simple environment. An example of this would be attaching an LED light to the fingertip. In another study, paint was applied to the fingertip and the system would search the environment for that color. These approaches are inconvenient considering the environmental restrictions and the need to reapply the paint or wear the LED light each time you want to use the system. So for this study, we're interested in building a vision-based air writing system. Now this can be done in two ways. We could either use a model-based approach or an appearance-based approach. A model-based approach uses depth information when trying to model the hand, and an appearance-based approach will basically use a 2D image of the hand. So but the difference is that appearance-based approach will try to analyze more two-dimensional features of a hand, whereas the model-based approach will seek to create a depth model of the hand. So as you can see in this diagram, model-based systems are created using multiple cameras or depth sensors. A popular depth sensor is Microsoft's Kinet, which has since been discontinued since 2017. Now, the problem with model-based approaches is the number of devices being used and the availability of these devices, as well as the cost. So, for example, in a system which uses multiple cameras, it's going to restrict the region of movement when performing air writing, and also the environment in which the air writing is performed. So we cannot, for example, take the system to other areas given the amount of cameras that will have to be moved. With regards to the depth sensor, one of the issues here is that if objects appear in front of the depth sensor, those objects could easily be identified as a hand. So one of the goals of our study was we want to build an air writing system that is not restricted by its environment and only uses a low-cost webcam. So that is why for this study we're going to focus more on appearance-based approaches. Appearance-based approaches require only a single camera and have the following components: hand region segmentation and fingertip detection. This approach enjoys the advantage of real-time performance due to only receiving input from a single camera. Segmenting the hand region can be done in a variety of ways, such as using a color-based thresholding function to obtain a binary image of the hand. This is usually followed by a sort of structuring element to eliminate noise. The obvious drawback here is that in a complex environment with lots of people and furniture, many background pixels will have skin-like color, Hence, this approach limits the system's usage to simple environments. Considering the problems faced by skin color segmentation, a study conducted in 2008 used a statistical approach based on a set of HAR-like features which analyzes the information in each area of the image rather than each individual pixel. In work more like ours, researchers used the RCNN framework to accurately detect the hand region as a preceding step to background subtraction. There are three popular methods for implementing fingertip detection. The centroid distance method, which finds the center of a given hand silhouette and recognizes the furthest point from the center as the fingertip. The curvature method, which identifies peaks and valleys in the hand silhouette by using a fixed threshold for the curvature. Those peaks could be identified as fingertips. And finally, the convex hull approach. The convex hull is the minimum set of points required to contain an object. This approach recognizes the corners of the convex hull as fingertips. The success of all the aforementioned techniques rely heavily on how well the hand region is segmented. So some issues to take note of is background pixels that have skin-like color could be classified as part of the hand region. Another issue is that using a deep neural network to continuously detect the hand region and the fingertip in each successive frame is computationally expensive, hence the need for fingertip tracking. So what can be done is we can use hand region segmentation and fingertip detection as a preceding step to fingertip tracking. So by integrating fingertip tracking, this will be the flow of information. We'll have hand region segmentation and fingertip detection as a preceding step to fingertip tracking. And this could be performed after a certain number of successive frames. Two popular algorithms for fingertip tracking are the particle filter and Kalman filter. Both these algorithms attempt to predict the location of the fingertip based on its location in the previous frame. However, because the hand is a non-rigid object and its velocity is inconsistent, it is very difficult to track over many successive frames. A common solution is to reperform segmentation and detection after every n frames. For an air writing system to be useful, we have to be able to accurately detect the written letter. Some techniques use feature analysis, which looks at the number of dots and curves and the position of these dots and curves when trying to predict the letter. Another technique is time sequence of zones, which classifies the letter based on the direction of the pen at different time intervals when writing. And finally, curve matching, which uses machine learning techniques to match the curves of the drawn letter to a set of curves in a database. One of the goals of our system is to be able to perform fingertip detection and tracking without restrictions on the background environment. So for our system, we chose to use Google's MediaPipe hands, a machine learning pipeline consisting of two models working together, a palm detector that locates the palm in an image and returns an oriented bounding box, and a hand landmark model which locates 21 coordinates inside the detected hand region via regression. The model is robust to even partially visible hands. We use these hand landmarks as input to our gesture recognition system. Conventional air writing involves a pen up, pen down motion. Air writing does not have such a delimiting sequence of events. So to simulate the pen up, pen down motion, we measure the distance between the tip of the middle finger and the wrist, and the distance between the tip of the thumb and the wrist. So as you can see from these diagrams, a pen up gesture is when the distance between the tip of the middle finger and the wrist is greater than the distance between the tip of the thumb and the wrist. And the pen down gesture is the opposite, where the distance between the tip of the thumb and the wrist is greater than the distance between the tip of the middle finger and the wrist. This is our user interface, which we refer to as the canvas. Users are expected to write one letter at a time inside the red box. Only what's written inside the red box will be passed to the character recognition framework. Some other features to make our system more useful is a reset button to remove all the writing from the canvas, backspace to delete a character from the string displayed, space adds a blank space to the string, save and close saves the string to a text file and terminates the program. So this is the flow of information in our system. As you can see, we take the input image, we detect the hand region, we draw the 21 land hand marks, we check if there is a writing gesture present. If there is a writing gesture, we get the coordinates of the fingertip. In this case, the fingertip which we are interested in is the index finger. We draw the circle at those corresponding coordinates on the canvas, and then we end. Next, if there's no writing gesture found, we check is the hand in the red box. If the answer is yes, we pass the canvas to the character recognition system. We print the character, we then clear the canvas. If the answer is no, we do nothing, and then we iterate. And this process is continued until the save and close button on the interface is clicked on, or until the program is stopped by force. So this is our character recognition framework. We take the handwritten letter as an input image, we convert it to grayscale, we then convert it to binary using a thresholding function. We resize the image to 28 by 28 pixels. We then reshape it to a one-dimensional array. We'll pass it to a neural network which will output a predicted character. And this is the data set that our neural network will be trained on for character recognition. So the data set is the MNIST letters data set. So this is a balanced set of uppercase and lowercase letters merged into a single 26 class task. This data set contains 145,600 handwritten character images. 86% are training samples, 14% are testing samples. And this right here is our neural network. Our neural network is a Keras sequential model. It has 3 dense layers of node sizes 32, 64, and 27 respectively. The activation functions used are ReLU and softmax. Max pooling is done after the first and second dense layers. A dropout rate is set to 0.25. The loss function is categorical cross entropy, since this is a multi-class problem. The optimizer chosen was Adam, and we have an accuracy after training of 96.97% and a loss of 4.5%. Okay, and now we'll see the system in action. Take note of the writing gesture being used. As you can see, when the pen up gesture is performed inside the red box, the alphabet written is translated into text. You can also see on the input stream the 21 hand landmarks drawn with red dots. As you can see, the fingertip tracking is real time. The character recognition is also real time. The gesture recognition is also used to interact with those buttons at the top of the user interface. So when the user goes pen down gesture at one of those buttons, it will be clicked. And here we demonstrate the backspace button. The program has been closed, and as you can see, what we wrote has been saved to a text file called save.txt. So testing was performed on 24 participants, evenly split amongst skin colors, dark, medium, and light. Each participant was asked to write their name 6 times under various lighting conditions. Maximum lighting, which is defined as 10 watts, medium lighting 5 watts, and minimum lighting 1 watt. The backgrounds used were both simple and complex, and the accuracy was defined as the percentage of correctly identified alphabets. And these are the results obtained from our usability study. The average training time was 8 minutes. All participants understood and were comfortable with the user interface. Most of the participants were able to grasp the gesture recognition system quickly. Most of the training time was spent getting used to the style and speed of writing. During the study, it was observed that certain writing styles did yield higher accuracy. This is most likely due to the nature of the data set used for training the character recognition framework. During training, the participants were asked to practice only with the alphabets in their name, so the preferred style of writing was learned quickly by most participants. As shown in the tables, the system performed well overall with an average accuracy of 87% and was robust against variations in skin color. The only outlier would be medium skin color under minimum lighting. As you can see, this has the lowest accuracy, and having performed a usability study, I can say that this was due to one of the participants performing very badly. But other from that, as you can see, most of our results are fairly positive. The main factors that affected the accuracy of the system are the lighting and background. Maximum lighting boasts the greatest accuracy overall, regardless of background. It was observed that fingertip tracking did degrade under minimum lighting, which ultimately led to participants having to reduce the speed of their writing. This can be attributed to the lack of contrast between pixels under minimum lighting. The speed of initial detection was hindered with a complex background. This is due to furniture having similar skin color to that of skin. The character recognition framework performed well. Some misinterpretations did, however, occur, such as classifying D as O and U as V, as well as E as G. All participants, however, have expressed that over time the system became easier to use and they were able to write faster. Some limitations of the system that were observed. The hands need to be kept vertical or near vertical at all times whilst writing, and some users did express discomfort when using the system for long periods of time, especially when sitting and trying to use the system. Another limitation was a restriction on the size of the letters being written. So it was also observed that when an alphabet is written too small, the character recognition system does struggle to predict the letter being written. So these are things that can be addressed in a future study or in an update to the system. With regards to future works, the proposed air writing system may find application in the retail world as a touchless text entry interface. It may also be used in smart homes for automation alongside gesture recognition systems. One may use, for example, drawing words in the air to automate things such as in a smart home, drawing an L1 to turn on the TV or something of that sort. With regards to the limitations on the writing size, in a future study, this could easily be addressed by applying image processing techniques such as blob detection and cropping. So for this study, given the limited resources of the device being used, that was obviously decided against. The system may be extended as well by improving character recognition to identify an entire word instead of single alphabets. Some visual improvements that can be made include allowing the user to choose what color they would like to write in, the thickness of the writing, as well as the color of the canvas. And finally, we can integrate the system as a touchless mouse interface.